The year is 2013. Nintendo is making Luigi's Mansion 2 Dark Moon at the exact same time that they're developing Mario & Luigi Dream Team, and many of the employees at Nintendo feel as though Luigi is underrepresented in Mario games, and indeed in the world as a whole. This gives the bigwigs at Nintendo a bright idea. What if they focused on Luigi instead? Maybe for a whole year? And so, the Year of Luigi came about. The 30th anniversary of the character's introduction gave Luigi a whole year all to himself. Luigi's Mansion 2 and Dream Team both came out around this time, with Dream Team focusing quite a bit on Luigi and with Dark Moon, well, being a Luigi's Mansion game. There were also other games that came out during this period, like Dr. Luigi, a take on Dr. Mario, as well as Luigi Bros, a version of Mario Bros that was hidden inside Super Mario 3D World. And of course, who can forget New Super Luigi Bros. U? It was where Nabbit became a playable character, something that's gone on to be in future games like Mario Wonder. There was even a Luigi train. All in all, pretty much everything Nintendo did within the Year of Luigi went on to be proclaimed a critical success. What about commercial? Well, 2013 turned out to have some of Nintendo's worst financial losses of the entire decade, losing $457 million. But that was because of the Wii U's commercial failure, not because of Luigi. Right, Luigi? You didn't have anything to do with it, did you, Luigi? Luigi, get away from me, Luigi! Stay away! Anyways, with that, the Year of Luigi ended, and it was never done again. Except for Luigi Month, where they brought it back for 1 month to promote the release of Luigi's Mansion 3, but that doesn't fit into the narrative of my video, so we're just gonna pretend it didn't happen. Get out of here, Luigi's Mansion 3. You were a shockingly underrated game that I really enjoyed playing through, but get out of here. Like I said, the Year of Luigi ended in 2013, and it was never done again. Until now. What if I told you all that in 2024, 11 years after the Year of Luigi, oh my gosh, it really has been over a decade, hasn't it? I was 9 years old. Regardless, what if I told you that in 2024, the Year of Luigi is happening again? But not in the realm of Nintendo's sales or game releases. In fact, Nintendo actually has nothing to do with it. What if I told you that the new Year of Luigi is here, in the competitive scene for Super Smash Bros. Ultimate? Today, we're going over 3 separate players who have gone on insane runs at big tournaments to kick off their year. This will be the Year of Luigi, and these 3 players have spearheaded it. I've even arranged them into a clever Triforce of mains like I did for the Bowser players a while ago. If you're not familiar with what I'm talking about, I created something that I coined the Triforce of mains. It's when a character has 3 reps spearheading their meta or tournament results. In the case of Luigi, it'll be 2024 big tournament runs. One of them has to be from NA, one of them has to be from Europe, and one of them has to be from Japan. When I made my first one on the best Bowsers, I used Leon from NA, Mukuro from Europe, and Hedo from Japan. I also created a Triforce of comebacks when I went over the 3 best comebacks in Smash Ultimate across 3 separate videos. I also want to point out that the placements on the Triforce itself is very purposeful. The Triforce of Power is the one on top, the Triforce of Wisdom is the one on the left, and the Triforce of Courage is the one on the right. So in this case, Kobe's comeback over Cola is Power because of just how down and out Kobe appeared to be. Gluto's comeback over Ken is Courage because Gluto was at over 200% and would have died to any mistake. And Jogibu's comeback over Yara is Wisdom, because it was a comeback that was drawn out over 2 very long sets and was filled with lots of mini comebacks and intense knowledge. That's basically the gist of my Triforce of mains, or I guess videos in this case. They're quite fun to make, if I'm being honest, and it's quite a good time to do with your main if you can. But with that established, let's go over the 3 players in our Triforce of Luigi tournament runs. The Triforce of Power, Rarukun. The Triforce of Courage, Luigi, and the Triforce of Wisdom, Guy. In today's video, we'll be going over all 3 of these players and their insane run at their respective tournaments, which cemented 2024 as the new Year of Luigi. We're going to start with Rarukun, as his is by far the most notable. I've actually made videos about all 3 of these tournaments separately, by the way, and I'll be covering them here in the same order I made videos about them. Still, that means that Rarukun's first. Rarukun is the Japanese Luigi who, in late 2023, I called the best Luigi in the world in my short series going over the best player of every character. At the time, nearly every comment told me that I was an idiot for thinking that Rarukun was the best Luigi in the world. Well, 2024 rolled around, and I was given the last laugh. The tournament in question is Kowloon 9 with Sumobato, a tournament I've actually made 2 videos on by this point, but no matter. Rarukun came into Kowloon 9 as the 30th seed, the lowest seed of anyone we're covering today. Kowloon 9 also happens to be the most important tournament we're covering today, as it was the only one that was considered at least a major, but for the record, Kowloon 9 was tiered as a super major. This tournament saw nearly every major competitor in Japan come out to play, and many international competitors like Gluttony, Zamba, and Apollo Kage were also attending. But none of them would breach top 2, or even top 8 for that matter. No, that distinction belonged to the powerful Rarukun. Rarukun started off the weekend by sweeping pools, otherwise known as Top 1024, which is hilarious, defeating Ramonti, Aoi, and Koma, all without dropping a single game. This was also all BO5, a rarity for majors in general, much less Japanese ones, where BO3 is the far more common format. Either way, after this, Rarukun went on to get 2 very impressive wins back-to-back, defeating the French Pichu Neitoru 3-0 and next defeating Yoshidora 3-1. As I mentioned in my Kowloon 9 video, by the way, Yoshidora would fall into losers and immediately lose to Toriguri for a 33rd place finish. But this was a historic win for Rarukun, defeating not only a top Japanese player, but a top player globally as well. If Rarukun had slowed down here, it still would have been noteworthy. But Rarukun wasn't done. He moved on into top 32 and defeated Snow, the best Mario player in Japan. It went down to a close Game 5, but eventually Rarukun would take the set, moving into winners quarterfinals. But this has to be where it ends. Why? Because Rarukun had to go up versus Omawatsu, the second best solo Min main in the world, who had just upset Hurt to make it here. Omawatsu was on his own phenomenal run, and will probably get his own video dedicated to him pretty dang soon. But this matchup, Min versus Luigi, is really bad for Luigi. But if you think that means Rarukun will lose, then you're clearly not familiar with the guy. Rarukun is somewhat famous for being really good in the Min matchup and is nearly undefeated in it. And so, Rarukun would defeat Omawatsu 3-1, moving into winner's side top 8. But Rarukun's noodle-related troubles were not done. Remember how I said that Omawatsu was the second best solo Min? Well, awaiting Rarukun in winner semis was the first best solo Min, Doramigi. But here's the funny thing about playing Omawatsu and Doramigi back-to-back. Yes, you have to fight 2 Min-Mins in a row. But in terms of preparing to fight Doramigi, beating Omawatsu is quite literally the best possible practice that Rarukun could have ever asked for. And so, Rarukun defeated Doramigi in a 3-0, not even dropping a game this time like he had to Omawatsu, making it all the way into winners finals as, I remind you, the 30th seed. Now, unfortunately, Rarukun would get steamrolled here by Miya, the Game & Watch prodigy. Rarukun dropped into losers finals where he had to fight Ashimo on yet another classic Ashimo losers run. But as insane as losers bracket Ashimo is, it wasn't strong enough to defeat Rarukun, who won the set 3-1 to go back up into grand finals to face off versus Miya yet again in the championship bout. And even though Rarukun made it extremely close this time, bringing it all the way to a Game 5, it sadly wasn't enough, and Miya clutched out Game 5 to win the tournament, eliminating Rarukun at 2nd place. But this tournament was Luigi's best tournament performance in the history of Smash Ultimate, and kicked off the new year of Luigi. That's why Rarukun is the power piece on our Triforce. He had the strongest run of all time and defeated, on average, the best players of anyone we're discussing today. But that's where the book closes on Rarukun, at least for now. Now it's time for us to take a look at the second player, the piece of courage, Luigi at Smashborg Winter Seasonal 2024. Taking place in Norway, Smashborg drew in loads of European talent, and Luigi was one of the prospects to take the tournament, coming into the event as the 2nd seed. And for a while, it seemed like Luigi was taking the projected path perfectly. Firstly sweeping pools flawlessly before moving on and defeating Jowlot, Whoopi, and the Schmixtape, not dropping any games in those sets either. Whoopi and the Schmixtape would actually end up making top 8, making these wins even more impressive. Having made it into winners semis absolutely flawlessly, it seemed as though Luigi would steamroll his way to grands. But Tarek, the German Greninja, had other plans, defeating Luigi in a 3-1 upset and sending Luigi down into losers bracket. Lugi was now in loser's quarters, only guaranteed 5th place. This is why Lugi gets the courage piece of our Triforce, because out of all of our players today, Lugi is the only one who had to make a loser's run. But make it he did, firstly defeating Lancelot, the best player in Finland, 3-1. Moving into top 4, Lugi next defeated Mr. R in yet another 3-1 set victory, making it all the way to losers finals. Here, Lugi needed to win the run back versus Tarek. And while it would go down to a close Game 5, Lugi would indeed win it, defeating Tarek 3-2 and moving into Grand Finals for a UK showdown versus Bloom Forever. This grand set was the only one today that truly felt the most like a boss battle, as it went down to a nail-biting Game 10. Once in that Game 10 though, Lugi got an insane lead and snowballed Bloom all the way to a victory, becoming your champion of Smashborg. That's the other reason why Lugi gets the Courage Triforce piece, the piece that belongs to Link, the protagonist. Out of all of our players today, Lugi had the grand set that was a true slog, and of our 3 players is the only one who actually won the tournament he went on a run in. Our last run today belongs to Guy Guy. Now is a good time to mention that this video is not claiming that these are the 3 best Luigis in the world. Raru-kun and Lugi are a step above the others, yes, but there are many other notable Luigis who could take Guy Guy's place as 3rd best Luigi, with players like Wakka and Kiarash joining Guy Guy in that discussion. But with that disclaimer established, let's go over Guy Guy's insane run at Brookland Brawls 100, which earned him the Triforce of Wisdom. Brookland 100 was a 200 entrant tournament that ran in a single day without any pools. So the phases of bracket are a little iffy, but I'm just gonna clump Guy Guy's first 3 sets together in one screenshot as he made it through them without dropping a single game, defeating Louis Games 8, Foon, and getting a notable win over LRA Start. Also worth mentioning is that Brookland is the only tournament we're covering today that wasn't all BO5, with everything outside of top 8 being BO3. Guy Guy's next set was against Kazuyame Weezer, and although Guy Guy would drop a game, the battle was lost so that the war was won, with Guy Guy ending the set in a 2-1 victory. But now it's time for Guy Guy to head to losers, right? After all, his next opponent was Zamba, the 1st seed, compared to Guy Guy's 9th seed. But against all odds, Guy Guy would take the set 2-1, sending the 1st seed of the tournament to losers before top 8 and entering into winners semis. Guy Guy's next opponent was Syrup, the ex-Ness turned Steve main who was infamous for their run at the Big House 11. While you may assume Guy Guy struggled here, you'd actually be wrong. Quite the opposite, Guy Guy slaughtered Syrup, even forcing a Pocket Lucas to make an appearance over Steve or Ness. In the end, Guy Guy would 3-0 Syrup dominantly to make it into winners finals. These 2 feats are why Guy Guy earned the Wisdom piece. Steve is a character that takes a lot of matchup knowledge to overcome, and Zamba is a player that requires you to seriously know what you're doing in order to prevail. By displaying both of these attributes in both of these sets, Guy Guy takes our spot as the Triforce of Wisdom. However, unfortunately, Guy Guy would lose 3-1 to Jackal in winners finals and in yet another 3-1 in the runback versus Zamba for a final placement of 3rd as the 9th seed. This is perhaps Guy Guy's best ever placement and certainly some of their best ever wins. This concludes our Triforce of runs that cemented 2024 as the new year of Luigi. Like I mentioned earlier, there are plenty of other Luigis like Wakka and Kiarash that are also helping Luigi's torch carry strongly into 2024, the brand new year of Luigi's dominance. That's going to be it for today's video. Before I go, shout out to my patrons Seth Laster, Farsco333, Logan S, Persipam, Wawa, and my 2 patrons Iltis and Diamond Blaze. Additionally, shout out my YouTube members Stormtrooper, Loco Soko, Diarrhea, Dichar Jr., Defective, Fan of, Boston R, Iltis, and my Tier 2 members Mike G and Wu-Tang Forever. Lastly, extra special thanks to my Tier 3 patron Ocean Man, who says Mr. Mice is sorry for playing Min Min. If you want to support me using any of these methods, links are in the description below. Don't miss tomorrow's upload, but until then, I've been Mr. Mice, and thank you all so very much for watching.